It's the old Doctor Who show, number 32, The Leisure Hive.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS would be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
Resulting reaction is Friday.
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly. I kept thinking online again. Like it just was popping in my head. Your online... No. This is the old Doctor Who show, your your tri-weekly
trifecta
classic
Jesus.
Doctor Who
Dr.
review
Cheese
podcast. My name is ESG. I am joined as always by
Dan Johnson.
Dan Johnson, my friend, my co-host. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing well.
You're talking to me from the remote areas of upstate Vermont or midstate
That's
Vermont
right.
or South Vermont.
Yes.
Keep it
any
vague.
Of those.
You know,
I don't want people to find me back in time and find me up here. I'm hanging out in Vermont, watching the leaves change because that's what we do. I guess when you're out of state, you come up to Vermont to.
No bear attacks.
No, I am petrified now.
You know, it's funny because you told the bear story, as our fans have now dubbed it, and I watched The Revenant. Like a few nights later, and I was like, "That's Dan." And spoilers for—I don't think this is a spoiler. I think it's just about everyone knows.
It's literally the only thing I know about The Revenant.
Exactly. Okay, so if you don't want to be spoiled at the beginning, just skip. But anyway, features a vicious bear attack of a guy who comes between cubs, a cubs and a mother, and I'm like, that's what would have happened to Dan had things been a little differently.
Been a little bit different.
Yeah, I'd be talking to no one. I'd have no co-host. So that's honestly kind of irresponsible of you to put our show in jeopardy by getting mauled.
This is why now when I take the dogs through the woods in a hike, I'm a complete jerk the whole time. I'm stomping. I'm stepping through the leaves as loudly as possible. I'm talking to my dog constantly.
Get those bear bells. Put some bells on the dog. You know, when the holiday season comes and it's Christmas time is around, you could also be the Santa boy. The weird.
Oh, okay. So if these are dual purpose, then I'm on board. I want to be Santa boy.
You got to wear the Santa boy skin fitting suit that looks like Slim Goodbody. But also with, maybe a piece of holly leaf in your lower intestine or something to keep it festive.
To really in my lower intestine.
Right. So anyway,
so that happens.
Before we get too far off, I'm shutting the show down. No, that's not the case. I had mentioned on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/TODWS, that I had purchased Clue, which is one of my favorite movies. I know also
one of my favorite movies.
My favorite board game too. That's hands down my favorite board game.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm over sorry, guy.
Now, I could play Clue professionally if they would stop laughing at me. When I would suggest
if someone else would join as well.
Now, that's a documentary too. Is just sort of pro Clue players. In the mean streets of, there's some back room of some tabletop place.
I loved Clue as a kid, but my favorite thing is in high school Spanish, we had a copy of Cluedo.
Oh yeah, the original title,
which is great. Yeah. So we could do it international style.
Okay, so you had a Spanish version. I'm thinking you used Cluedo, which is the English name, because it was the game originated in England, and then the Parker brothers licensed it for. I know. I've watched
way too much. And I'm sorry, Spanish-speaking members of our audience, if I'm pronouncing Cluedo wrong or misremembering it, write me a letter.
Right, but we're not here to talk about the Clue board game or the fact that you went to a Clue-themed party a few weeks back dressed as
I just need to tell you about that real quick because it's the best thing. It was so much fun. In New York, there's a place called the McKittrick Hotel. They do it ongoing. It's been going on for years now. Nightly, they do this participatory theater thing. It's in a renovated space. It's several stories tall of this incredibly meticulously detailed theater space. The show that they normally do is a kind of version of Macbeth, and you can go in. You go in, and you have a mask on, so they can tell who the performers are and who the audience is. You wander around and follow actors around, and they just perform the show.
Wait, they do Macbeth with audience interaction?
Yeah, well, you don't really interact. Like, you don't like try to get in the way, but your audience is very.
Is it like that episode of Girls where they go to the apartment and? Did you watch that show?
I do not watch that show.
Okay, Adam Driver is an actor. His character is an actor. Obviously, it's an actor. All right, breaking news. Adam Driver
so that's
is
not
an
a documentary. Oh,
but anyway. I'll be very brief, but I think this is a similar thing. They go into an apartment, and you kind of walk around the apartment, and in each room are scenes that the actors are. Is it like
similar
that?
To that? It's like that. It's like Eyes Wide Shut, but with much.
Oh, okay.
No, with somewhat less sex.
Okay,
somewght less. So you kind of stand around, the audience kind of like fades into the background, but you can follow any character you want if you're interested in a thing, and it goes for a couple hours, so it loops through the storyline, so you can just follow. Anyway, it's great. So once a month now, they do a thing called Super Cinema. Well, they'll pick a movie and they'll take over the space, or at least a fair portion of it, and devote it to that thing, and you come in costume. They've done The Wizard of Oz for Gay Pride Month. They did The Great Gatsby. The one I went to last month was Clue. And what is the most amazing thing is this movie bombed in 1985 when it came out. Critics panned it. Audience didn't go to it, but I loved it. I remember forcing my mom to come home from work one day. She works in my town, to tape it off on the VHS for me. Love this movie. The best cast in the world. So if you have not seen Clue, pause the podcast, go rent it. It's worth it. Watch it. The best cast in the world. Anyway, so the whole thing, you had to come in costume. I went as Professor Plum. I brought two friends of mine. I had a Miss Scarlet and a Mrs. Peacock. And because it is such a niche thing, like the movie did not do well, but it's kind of gotten a cult following. But you would think like a Clue-themed party, just like who the heck's going to go? There's like 9 million people in New York. Of them, half of them showed up for this thing. It was spectacular.
We won't harp on this too long, because I know people
guys.
are like, let's get to Doctor Who.
Great. It is great. It's so much fun.
So you're in this place, and you're seeing scenes from the movie being acted out, or how
it's more like no, it's not so much that. It's just themed around it. So it's of the time period. They redid a bunch of the sets, which is, you're within the sets the whole time. So like they have various rooms. They have a billiards room. They had the conservatory. They had study. But they had like a live band performing, and they were kind of like from the 1950s sort of style. They had just different things going on that were all kind of themed around this. And then because it's part of this McKittrick Hotel thing, if you pay for different VIP levels, you get access to hidden rooms and secrets and stuff going on. It was just really cool. Amazing. Anyway, highly recommend. The long and short of this is we're giving away a DVD. Oh yeah,
so
Clue.
We started out with that. So I bought Clue on Blu-ray because again, it's one of my favorite movies, and I've had the DVD forever. And I was I don't know why, I was just obsessing about it again, and I ended up buying it. And now I have a DVD, and I ended up posting on Facebook. I would just give it away on the show. It has nothing to do with Doctor Who.
Nothing at all.
I have nothing else to do with it. So I figure if anyone wants it that's listening to this, all you have to do is tweet at Dan and I and just tell us why you think you should have it. And I'll be honest, if one person does that, you're probably going to win it, because I don't imagine we're going to be inundated with mentions. My mentions are going to start blowing up.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want it, just tweet at us
at DanJNJ and
I'll mail it to you.
Tweet at both of us at the same time.
Right, I'll mail it to you. Postage is on me, and it's free. So what are you gonna do? And it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. We both like it. So if you like us, you'll probably get the movie.
Get so much out of it. I mean, gosh, that cast. Anyway.
We have a couple of. Go on.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we have two sort of viewer comments to go through. Right.
Yep.
Do you want to hit us with those, Dan?
Sure. First one is an email. The subject line is "What the hell?" ? Exclamation point ? This is from Tim B. Hello, Tim. Basically, Tim was having an issue with episode 30 not playing on his podcast app on his iPhone. So I'm sorry about that. We do it the same way every time.
And let this be a lesson to anyone writing in anything to us. We will read it on.
We're going to read it,
even if it's someone's just complaining that episode 30 won't play. That's getting read in the viewer.
It does not matter. But here's the thing. First of all, sorry that happened. You said that all the other episodes in the feed were working, so that's great. I don't know what happened with that one. But he says, this is the important part, Tim says, anyway, I just realized I can go to your website and listen from there, and that seems to work. So, yeah, all of our episodes are not only in your RSS feed for your podcast reader, it's also, they're all online on our show. Each one's broken out into its own separate show page. There you can listen to the show, and you can also see for the last, 10 or so.
Yeah, your animated GIFs. So please take them and share them.
And any sort of references to external things, we'll put links on there. Maybe we'll even put a link to the IMDb page for Clue on there, so you guys can see what the heck we're talking about.
Dan makes all the animated GIFs, and they're very funny. So
so I'm sharing those when we're recording the show and before the show goes live. So there's a whole bunch more that'll be there for each one. So check it out there. So that's the first one. Thank you, Tim B. Hope that you're enjoying. Actually, I hope you're able to even hear this, quite frankly.
But anyway, okay, so we have one more thing, one more comment, right?
From Tweetar, if you guys
a recommendation, I believe.
Yes. So this is a tweet that came at us from Daniel Martinez. Hello, Daniel. I think Daniel's actually going back in the archives and catching up to current time. So this could be months from now when you finally hear this, Daniel. But anyway, he is replying to us regarding something that we had mentioned in an old episode.
Yeah, and I have no recollection of this happening, though I'm sure it did. We both were like, did we? We probably did. I just don't remember it. We must have been talking.
So you guys know, when we record this, as soon as we hit the stop button on recording, we wipe our memories.
Yeah, we black out.
We black out.
Black out.
I have no idea what we've talked about. So Daniel said, there have been 3 individual female writers, Helen Rayner, Catherine Tregrena, I'm probably saying that right, and Sarah Dollard, and then there were 23 men. So we were asking a question about how many female writers run stuff. I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, and this is the new show. This is the new
right.
Doctor Who show, not classic Doctor Who show.
But he then goes on to say, Davros' life from before Genesis of the Daleks is possibly the best portrayal of him.
So this was we had done Destiny of the Daleks. And Daniel Martinez is recommending that we listen, which I haven't heard, and I've heard Davros, the Big Finish story, and I think I'd mentioned that before when we've covered it. He's recommending Davros. It looks really cool.
Oh, yeah, I read this backwards.
It's on Spotify, I believe, that he provided the link, so we can share that link as well in this post. So, yeah, we will check that out, and thank you for recommending it. That sounds pretty good.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now that we finally got to Doctor Who after 13 minutes, should we talk about Doctor Who?
You want to talk about this?
Nope, that's it.
All right, bye, guys.
Our new Clue podcast with a side of Twin Peaks. So let's do it.
Oh, want to talk about Twin Peaks?
No, we can't. I do.
Ready? Let's do it. Ready?
I'm sick of being old. There must be some way of reversing the process.
Temporal asymmetry. We'll have to get back to the generator. Your condition's unstable.
Pangle's very young.
Pangle?
Yes. And everyone else is old. Except Pangle. And he runs the generator. When you were fitting the Schrödinger oscillator, did you notice that there were 2 baryon shields?
Why 2, I wonder?
I don't know. I didn't have time to look. 500 years goes by so rapidly.
An alternative function. There must be a second circuit in there doing something we know nothing about.
Yes.
It's the Leisure Hive. This is the first story of the 18th season of Doctor Who. This is written by David Fisher and directed by Lovett Bickford. The story is the Dr. Romana, they visit the Leisure Hive of Argolis, a once prosperous holiday resort that has fallen into dire financial straits, Dan. The owners, the Argolans, are offered the chance to sell the planet to the very enemies who defeated them in an intergalactic war that lasted a mere 20 minutes, and then also put their race into extinction when it left them sterile. I flubbed that. When I was reading it, I got some of my sentences mixed up, but I think I recovered.
No, no one would have noticed it had you not just mentioned that right now.
No one's going to know that happened. What do you think of the Leisure Hive, Dan?
I have feelings about it. Okay, where to begin? Well, let's just start from the very beginning.
Let's begin at episode 1 then.
Let's begin before episode 1. Yeah. Let's talk about the new title sequence.
So we are in the 80s.
Holy crap, are we in the 80s?
Starfield, it looks like somebody got their very first video generator effects machine too. Yeah. Like there's some, and goes beyond the opening. There's like strange sort of like iris wipes and stuff that are happening that feel a little strange, but let's stick with the opening. We've got new music, new graphics.
Not just that. There's like, okay, I guess we'll come back to them. Yeah, sure. So the title sequence has the Starfield. Tom Baker's face is done in stars. The music is redone as well. So that's interesting.
What do you like?
What reminded me of immediately?
Yeah,
it's when it starts off. The first couple of tones aren't like really the music. It's kind of this little tone that comes in the stars. It's Justice League cartoon. Meanwhile, back at the Justice League, it is. So I had to go to YouTube and find it. It's pretty much the exact same thing.
Right. You're talking about like Super Friends.
Yeah. Super Friends. Exactly right. Yeah. So that's what that feels like.
And the music is all new too. And I had read, I saw like in the documentary on the disc, they were going for a more dance feel, specifically disco. Another reason why they wanted to change it up was...
Way to go for disco at the tail end of 1980.
I didn't exactly. It's like so topical. It's like, oh, this train's never going to stop running.
People are going to love this forever.
Yeah. Another thing was they had been running the previous opening for at least 7 years, right? I think it was pretty much untouched from when right?
When Tom came on, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he was much older now, so that was like, we got to update his face. We're looking at this young guy, and then you get this episode, and he's a little bit more
so let's just make his face out of stars so you can't tell how ancient he looks.
It is so, and the logo itself is just so...
They call it the neon tube logo.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. It is the 80s. Everything about this episode is the 80s.
Right. I kind of like it though. Like I don't have a problem. I prefer the classic sort of what I consider the classic logo, the one we're replacing.
Yeah, I do.
Whereas this is I don't like the bubble letters or the neon tubing or whatever.
I don't know how long this goes on. Like, as you folks that are listening know, we don't have any advanced knowledge of anything that happens in the classic Who. We're kind of watching this as we go with random episodes here and there. So I don't know how long this title sequence goes. I can't imagine this stays for very long. Well, especially since Tom's going to be leaving shortly, but this style, maybe it doesn't stay for very long. Because
I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
I'm hoping,
I feel like this is 1982, and you're getting hit in the face with 1980s. It's like we are.
Yes,
70s are dead. This is the 80s.
Long live the 80s.
It feels like that Night Flight logo a little bit too. Yeah. Like if you're familiar with that old video show. But in any case, so you're not a fan. It sounds like you're not as much a fan of this.
I don't love it just because it's so specific.
A little too corny.
Yeah. It's very, very much of that time. And it doesn't age very well. But I guess that's true for all of them. I mean, looking back at the 2005 reboot logo, like that was not good to begin with, and it just didn't age well at all. Like the way that it was designed. I think the newest ones, the most current, where it's just the DW shaped as the police box is one of the logos. I think that's pretty timeless and could last a very long time.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But like this neon tube one.
Well, to clarify too, like I don't like I like the nostalgia of it. Like it just reminds me of the 80s.
Is a time
and obviously
capsule. It is a complete time capsule.
In my early 40s and 41, so that is what hits me.
Yeah.
It doesn't compete with that tube thing with the looks like how would you describe that? Like the tunnel, one? The one they're replacing, that like swirling thing. Yeah. Like that is so much cooler than the computer generated Starfield.
Just Starfield.
But in any case, it does. And again, like it also feels like the Star Wars Christmas special type of graphics too. With anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So that's
a good tangent.
Yeah, we come off of that. So you're hit in the face with the 80s, and then the opening shot is this sort of pan over on the beach that seems to go too far. To like you feel like you're going to go right back to where you start. Do you know what I mean? Like the pan is just a 30 seconds longer than it should be.
It should
it
not have been that long. Just a rocky
long.
beach in the wind, and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the point. It's a vacation spot, but it's a horrible spot, and you don't want to be okay. But just kept going. What we also see new in the beginning of this episode. Well, I guess we can go in sequence here, but Romana kills K9. Which is kind of amazing.
It's really weird.
Wow.
She straight up murders him. She throws the ball in the ocean.
And then
first off, why can't he survive? He's obviously of a higher technology, the K9 thing. It blows up at the first sign of salt water. Like it just.
She blames the doctor for that. She says that he didn't make sure that the seawater something or other was properly.
Why does he explode? Like it feels weird. I mean, obviously there's reasons why they were trying to get rid of K9. That was one of the things, we have, and I guess we should talk about it too, is this is a changing of the guard. We've got a new producer. John Nathan Turner is now, that's his name, right? I got his name right?
Yeah.
Let's assume his name's John Nathan Turner. I think I'm correct. So he had been working on the show for a few years.
That was right, yeah.
And then now he's running it. And one of the things, he considered the show to be too silly, and they wanted to sort of get rid of K9 or minimize K9. And the reasons why
they did get the voice actor to come back to do this season. So apparently there was some chance that he wasn't going to be coming back at all.
Well, from what they said, they had spent a lot of money on making him remote, like a remote control unit, so that you could just drive him around, which was supposed to improve things greatly. And then that did not work. For whatever reason, when they started shooting, that was the thing that did not work. But I guess the kids, he was very popular with kids, K9. Right. But in terms of story, we've complained about this, and I know I've talked about he's just too powerful. Like, why? I always said, like, why wouldn't you always bring K9 with you? Because he can get you out of all these situations. And that was one of their complaints, was he becomes annoying because he can sort of do anything you want, and it doesn't help the story or the drama of the story or anything.
Right. I mean, he's kind of the ultimate. It's not MacGuffin. What's the thing? I mean, it's a very Deus Ex Machina thing where now they very much rely on the sonic screwdriver to be the thing for all needs. He was a Swiss Army knife of Deus Ex Machina. It was just anytime you need anything.
In this documentary, they were specific and said K9 and the screwdriver are both things that they wanted to minimize, these magic elements that could sort of get you out of any trouble. It's not exciting if the doctor just waves his screwdriver or K9 just uses his nose to blast somebody in the face.
The other thing with K9, and they do this in a lot of the episodes that we've watched, I don't know if it's true for all the episodes, but of the ones we've watched recently, they'll just have a nod to K9 and like have to explain why he's not going to be in the episode.
One line of dialogue, like, he's back there, or there's too many mountains, or he
too
can't
many
go over
rocks. So see you later. Yeah, we don't need that. So I'm fine. I was never a huge fan of K9. So
you're right. He straight up is murdered by Romana. She kills him and then screams like when she realizes what she's done. And it's a very weird opening scene.
It was very strange.
It just feels very strange. One thing, too, the music is different. Obviously, the music in the beginning, but the whole score changes the whole feel of the show.
Yeah. So not just the title is so 80s, like so much of this episode, things are shot in very strange camera angles, like almost trying to be avant-garde in a way. Like you get very low angles, very tight shots, jumpy reaction shots throughout that just everything feels kind of disconnected, and it just, to me, speaks of this weird time of like 80s videography, of like Videodrome, sort of like everything's kind of uncomfortable and I don't know why.
Videodrome, is that what you said? Videodrome? Like that would be a weird tie into.
I know, but it just has that feel. Like it makes me feel the same way. It's like everything feels kind of uncomfortable and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's just these weird editing too, and video style.
Right. One of their things too was they thought the show got too silly. So
they're definitely trying to go
that's
more
just
mature
trying to get it more
that 80s
more
synth,
serious a take on it.
Yeah, that 80s synth was something I noticed right away too, because it especially coming off something like around this time the TV show Stranger Things came out on Netflix, and one of the things I loved about that is all the 80s homage that they do, obviously, and one of them being John Carpenter type scores.
Right,
and this is like John Carpenter before John Carpenter. Like it is 1980s, so it's probably before like They Live or any of those where the iconic kind of score. But it just has that austere, off-putting sort of sound that is just not at all keeping with any tone. So if they were trying to change the tone of Doctor Who, mission accomplished within the first 30 seconds of this episode. So,
and one other thing with the music on the disc, which was kind of interesting, it was 5.1 mix. So it did. There wasn't. It was sort of cool, but like obviously the original broadcast is mono, or it's not.
At most, it was stereo, but probably it was mono, right?
Yeah. So they did a 5.1 mix, which also I think made it stand out even more for me as I was watching it. Just
wow.
But yeah, while you were talking, I'm just looking. I looked up John Carpenter just to fact check you in real time.
Please do.
Did the music for Dark Store in 1974, and Halloween is 1978.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So,
Halloween. I definitely just think of that main theme, though. I'm sure that there is like that whole synth background, but in my head I can't really recall that. All I can think of is just like that piano. Right. Anyway.
But in any case, so what do we... Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. What do we... Why are we here? No. K9. I just want to talk about K9 getting murdered again.
Yeah.
Now, if water makes him explode, we'll just accept that.
In this instance...
Wouldn't K9 be hyper aware of that? Like...
Right.
He jumps in with reckless
I have to go back and look at... We can go back and see what Romana says to him. But Romana says, like, K9 exploded because you didn't...
She throws the ball, right? She's like, you want to go fetch, right? Or and then he goes after... Or he goes, go catch the ball, and she throws it where he will die.
Into a volcano.
Right. But he's, like, smart enough with all this other... But he can't, realize... Mistress,
Doctor
I'll blow
screwed
up
up something with his seawater seals, so maybe K9 wasn't aware. He thought that he was fine. I don't know. Whatever, he's fine. He exploded. It was cool.
So we end up eventually getting to this leisure planet, right? Because they're on the run from the Black Guardian.
Right,
they're still using the randomizer.
So they can't get to where they're trying to get to. Where they're trying to get to the Brighton Pavilion, which is apparently they.
Now, how do they get to? If the randomizer makes it so they don't know where they're going to go, how do they get to Argolis? Because he doesn't take... The randomizer actually becomes part of the plot within the story of them removing it from the TARDIS. But how does...
I would assume he doesn't actually have to use it. I don't know.
Okay, right.
Hey, actually, maybe...
Like, they take it out of the TARDIS, and then this is all the way near the end, and they hook it up to the recreation machine that just makes people play squash upside down. That sounds exciting. But, like, just, you can bring it back in the TARDIS, just don't use it.
Right.
It's just like, they're like, no, we're keeping it. It's just,
my guess
very
is
strange.
They still had the randomizer intact, and to get to Argolis, it was actually like 3 million tries, but they just edited it down. We don't see that.
They took public transportation. But in any case, they end up on Argolis, and this is where I mentioned before, you get this weird sort of iris pullback where we go. Yeah. It's kind of cool. They get smaller and smaller with this iris shot as the stars come in.
The same stars from the starfield of the title sequence.
We're now in space, or we're at the planet Argolis.
Yeah, they don't do that throughout the rest of this serial. They just do it here.
Only that time.
Strange. Yeah. And it made me think, like, is someone watching them? Was this the Black Guardian watching? But it wasn't. It was just a title sequence. So then you cut right to Argolis, and I found it very disorienting because it's just... Basically,
you're in the middle of like some presentation at a conference where the guy's just talking about tachyons. And you're like, all right.
The Leisure Planet, people flock there or have flocked there in the past to hear nerdy demonstrations about particle physics.
They're wondering why this planet is being thrust into bankruptcy. The only thing they offer is to play with what looks horribly nauseating, this upside down squash. That's all they got, and then they're trying to sell you like on whatever the tachyon thing is. Like, who's going there? There wasn't anything relaxing about anything on the planet.
Nothing.
I didn't see anybody relaxing. No.
Eric, next time I go on vacation, I want to spend the entire time in a storage unit. I mean, that's what this place was. It was just a corrugated steel storage unit.
Right. Do you want to go outside? You're gonna die. The entire place is irradiated.
You can look through this window at the radioactive dust storms, or you could play upside down squash. That's all we got.
Why is attendance down? Oh, I don't know. Like, who would want to come here? It's a horrible planet where people get murdered by accident in their...
Hey, everybody. We just had a thermonuclear war and genocide. Come to our leisure planet.
And the whole draw of that whole machine anyway, he's like, like, you can't believe this is happening. He takes a picture of himself and cuts his arms and legs off, and they go around, and then they go. It's like, who cares? What is that?
So apparently, that thing was very confusing.
It makes like a photocopy of you,
except it's solid.
Then
so it's actually like it's real and tangible. Like it's not just an image.
But they're not seeing it in reality, right?
They don't
they're seeing
show
it
that
on a screen.
Yeah,
it
doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I agree. I can't.
No, I actually like this story. Like I'm trashing it now, and but I'm actually overall I like it. It's just that whole thing.
It didn't make any sense.
Out. No.
Like yes, so the main
and it has to do with tachyons, which to my limited knowledge of tachyons, they're just particles that are faster than light. That's all that I really. They're hypothetical things, but what does that have to do with imaging or making clones of yourself? Like I didn't understand
nothing. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask Pangol. He would know.
Yeah. One of the things, too, that on their list of things they wanted to change that they thought the old show or the previous runner who were doing was it was getting too far from real science. So the fact that they keep saying tachyons is trying to tie it to real science. I just, again, maybe this is a listener will write in and say, oh, well, this is why, and I'm just too dumb to get it. I just didn't understand
why
like how does this relate to tachyons in my limited understanding of tachyons? But anyway, that was they say that so many times the word tachyons and
over and over and over. Well, that's the thing that really gets the people to flock to the Leisure Planet is tachyons. So okay, we have this planet. It's run by the Argolans, basically kind of run by a family. Everyone there is sterile. We find out everyone has like a very long portion of their life is kind of at this metabolic stasis where they kind of just stay as they are, and then all of a sudden at the end of their life they rapidly age. Degenerate. And then a pearl falls out of their horn.
That I wanted to ask you about because I didn't understand because later on I think one of her ears fall off, right? Of the woman. Like that happened. Was that just the prop falling off or part of the story? But yeah, they cut to that thing with the pearl falling out. I was like, what is that?
Especially the first time, you're like, what just...
Yeah, that's supposed to establish the rules of the world. And I was like,
what? It took a long time for that to become even remotely...
didn't that woman's ear fall out?
I think it was the ether you were huffing because I don't recall that happening.
Okay, it's possible that I was blackout drunk at the time.
Ear came off.
But yeah, so you're right. So that we should mention their enemies, which are the lizard
Fomosi.
people. No, yeah, the Fomosi. Fomosi, who through a huge intergalactic battle that lasted only 20 minutes, they were beaten so bad that their whole planet was irradiated except for this one area. And they're all made sterile, so it's the end of the line. There will be no more of this race. And they decided in their humility to build a leisure palace to show the world that war is wrong. And I guess a former leader who has this very cool, if not phallic, helmet that kind of looks a little bit like Dr. Fate and also a member of a man's body. That must have been his helmet, and he was the guy that took him the war, and so they hang it up and look at it and go to remind them not to do it again.
That's the helmet of Theron.
Right.
How big was this guy? Because that helmet was gigantic.
Yeah, was very tall. He was overcompensating, I think.
Maybe.
That was
or it was because they all have beehive hairdos, and that helmet just protected the hairdo.
His tachyon count was low. Yeah. So I'm terribly sorry.
I'm not. That was great.
So go on.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, so the Fomosi, we see a Fomosi or a lizard person.
We see bits of it.
Sabotaging.
We see a claw come out. We see a tail.
Question. And this is going to spoil later on, but obviously
the thing that everyone's already watched. Yep.
The Earth lawyer and the Earth guy that are negotiating the deal are incognito. They are wearing human masks.
Somehow.
Obviously, they're the people sabotaging it, right?
Yes.
If this person's sabotaging equipment, why is he out of disguise? Wouldn't you want to still look human? So if you did get spotted, you wouldn't be like, "That's weird. Our mortal enemy is walking down the hallway." Like, why
You're right.
spend the time to take off your costume,
put it on and off? Right. Maybe it's very uncomfortable.
Well, that's possible. Perhaps there's a lot of chafing, I imagine, with that very dry. They have very dry skin.
Very dry skin. Well, I don't know how they were able to get their heads inside their gigantic heads inside the smaller human heads. So I'm assuming it's very, very uncomfortable.
But a great reveal when they rip those faces off.
It was really good.
Up until when the poor actor has to put up with that. But he really sold it. I felt like those guys really sold it.
Yeah. So they were in disguise the whole time. Blah blah blah. Because they wanted to.
Hold on, wait. Another thing I just found in my note with the lizard. Why does he step on that guy's glasses other than to be cruel? There's a whole scene where the guy loses his glasses, and then they show the Famasi step on it
and grind his plushy little foot into it.
It never comes into play where he can't see or needs.
The guy's gonna die in about 30 seconds.
He's gonna die anyway, but it's just a weird scene for. They don't want it to be silly, but is that what was that? He might as well have slipped on a banana peel, and that would have been equally as good.
Yeah. So that guy is a financier of this new use for tachyons to try to regenerate people. They're trying to use tachyons
for 40 years, right?
To help rewind time and regenerate these people.
Yep.
That's what the whole thing. And it turns out that they lied about their experiments. The recording that they did of it was completely faked. And
I thought that part was really cool. The fact that you have these two guys and they're lying about their findings for money was very...
Yep. And they're in too deep on it. And the actual scientist is kind of having regrets about it.
But the scientist... What's the woman's name? So in the beginning we have the one leader of the people... who are the Argolans. He dies almost immediately. Then his wife, I guess it's his wife or his...
Mina. Yep.
Yeah, she arrives at the planet almost immediately to assume control. The scientist is in love with her, right? We all agree that they have something going on. Yeah.
Yes.
I was hoping that they were gonna play on that in some capacity, but they don't. But I think
that was Hardin's the character's name.
Yeah. But anyway, so you have this whole layer where they have something going on, and then he's betraying her by lying about the money, and there's that scene with the two of them, and I thought that was very good.
Yeah.
Where she realizes he's been lying about this regeneration, and it's so important to her because these people are going to die without it.
Right, and she's starting to feel the effects of the aging now.
Yeah, very rapidly, where I believe that she loses an ear, perhaps not. Perhaps maybe it was a pearl falling out of whatever they have.
Her horn on top.
Now, I had a question, too, on the fact that they're falling apart.
Yeah.
Does that happen because they're on the planet with all the radiation? Or is it just part of their life cycle?
I thought it was just part of their life cycle.
Okay.
Like, their life was extended in this state for a very long time.
Have they thought about leaving the planet with all the radiation? Because that may be contributing...
I don't see how you can.
It's a health and relaxation planet surrounded by cancerous poison. That sounds great. Come on, kids.
Sign me up. Yeah. Okay.
So we get a scarf involved in murder too. The doctor's scarf is used to kill Stinson. Is that the person's name?
Good job.
When they try to blame the murder on the doctor.
Yep. Okay.
Is that the first time we've seen the doctor or the scarf used to murder someone?
No, this is like the 15th time. The doctor's constantly murdering people with his scarf.
He is tripping people off.
Well, speaking of scarf, and this is probably a really important thing. You notice that it's a different scarf, and it's a different outfit. The doctor's wearing a completely different outfit.
I didn't notice that.
He's wearing his. Apparently, this was a thing I read about it, but I didn't. I noticed it was different, but I didn't realize it was it's his burgundy outfit. So he's wearing a darker outfit. His scarf is not the multicolored one. It's still striped, but it's not the big multicolored, whatever. And did you notice on his lapels, he's got the question marks now?
No. See, I missed all of that stuff.
Yeah, he's got, and it honestly looks like it was drawn with Sharpie, but on his lapels, he's got the 2 question marks, which I always associated with the later doctors and not with Tom Baker. So apparently,
yeah, I totally spaced on that.
Yeah. So notice that you can see it in episode 2 of this serial that he's got that. Anyway, so
we in episode 2, sticking with episode 2.
Sure.
One thing, Romana and Ted Danson. It's not Ted Danson, but what's his name? The good scientist. the good human scientist
Hardin?
that's in love with
Hardin.
They do this. So obviously his experiments aren't working. Romana helps him, and they get it to work, or so they think.
Yes.
They have like 3 seconds of the thing working, and they both run and leave their experiment
leave it on.
to blow up.
They leave it
what
running.
Kind of scientists are the come on?
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. And they're going
We
to
got
all
it.
of a sudden,
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sloppy science. Is what that is. Science is a lot harder work than that.
It's an object lesson, folks.
And because of that, we get Old Doctor.
Yeah. So it was because of that.
Is that because of that?
Well, is it that,
or is it
the
sabotage?
sabotage that was happening?
Yeah.
That was very unclear. Because so in the beginning, again, when we're talking about the tachyon demonstration where people can look like they're being pulled apart and whatever, they pull up a volunteer from the audience, and it was because of the sabotage that guy gets ripped apart. So I don't know if that's also what's at play here.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either if that was
a couple
the
hundred
fact
years.
that they failed. Why did they fail? Because I always think of Romana would be able to fix that problem. So why didn't it work?
Right.
I'm not sure. But one thing about the aging, so it's a great cliffhanger. So the Doctor pops out of the whatever that cardboard thing is that they hang out in, and he's like 1,000 years old, and he looks so unhappy about it. And when I was watching the behind the scenes DVD, I don't think Tom Baker was happy about it because he wanted it to be, okay, that's the end of episode 2. Yeah. Episode 3, I'm young again. Like, we'll fix this. It's just like a cliffhanger. And they were like, nope. You're staying old for the rest of the run until the end.
They couldn't have done that, though, because doesn't he, at the end of the first episode, the cliffhanger at the end of the first episode is him getting ripped apart by the machine, just like the volunteer was. And then that turns out to be him. He had slipped out the back, and that was just the tachyon copy of him that got ripped apart.
No, I think
actually him.
I agree with their decision.
You can't do it twice. That would be ridiculous. Plus, I gotta say, I usually hate old makeup because it never looks very authentic at all.
Yeah, this looked good.
This looked really good. I mean, the big curly beard and hair was a little bit
I
much,
wish
but,
he
like,
had a cane that he could hit people with.
And one of those old hearing horns out of his ear. But it looked very good, and yeah. So Tom, I would guess at this point, he's been a celebrity of this stature for.
There was a lot of head butting going on and behind the scenes,
right? He's very big. He's also, like you said in the beginning, he's aging in his role. I'm sure he doesn't want to be seen as the old man, as the Doctor,
right?
Especially after coming in, after having the previous 3 Doctors being older than he was when he came in.
Yeah.
So,
but I think one other point. Yeah, and one of their points from the story perspective, which I think is really cool too, is when you go through a whole episode, so episode 3 of him being old and staying old, the audience expectation is, oh my God, we now have an old like he could stay old.
Yeah.
So that plays around with, instead of him just immediately fixing whatever
which they do
is.
all the time. They always have. It's like, here's the cliffhanger, and then here's the fix right away. And this one, it wasn't obvious at all where the fix was going to come from. How are they going to do it? And
I also liked, because I never thought about Time Lords aging, physically getting older, because we're so used to them dying and then getting a new actor.
Yep.
So this was, I think they said 500 years, right? So this is what would happen in 500 years' time of real time of him aging. So, what is the lifespan of a Time Lord with them not dying and regenerating? And, do they keep getting old? And at what point, what do they look like in 1,000 years?
Well, no, because we kind of know that now with New Who. So, a couple of things. At this point, he's 1,100-something years old, which is as old as Matt Smith's Doctor towards the end. He ended up being around 1,200, I think, off the top of my head, somewhere around there. Of course, he had regenerated several times, so that doesn't directly apply. I just think it's interesting, he's as old as a current Doctor is. But then in episode with the Master in New Who, Sound of the Drums, that leads up. It's with Martha Jones and her family. The Doctor the Master takes over. He has David Tennant's Doctor in a cage, and he keeps aging him. And remember, he gets older and older and smaller and smaller. He ages and becomes this little midgety dwarf thing. Do you remember this?
Kind of, yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that. But
so that always struck me as oh, that's what happens when Time Lords get old. They shrink and turn into gnomes. Because that's kind of what he ended up. I
guess he was sort of ending up that way. He also looked like the Song Remains the Same, the Led Zeppelin Jimmy Page storyline with the old guy with the lantern. You know what I'm talking about? Classic rock fans at home listening knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say the old guy with the lantern. But then they put him on house arrest too, which was kind of fun in this. So he's convicted, or not convicted, but he's brought on trial for murder. And then she decides that she needs a scientific expertise more than they need to jail him because her young, horrible son is like, execute this guy.
Yeah.
And then he's sort of put on house arrest. He might as well have an ankle bracelet.
Except it was a neck bracelet that would strangle you.
And then I have the lawyer. Oh, yeah, the lawyer had the creepiest eye movements. Now, this is one of the guys that turns out is a Famosi. I don't know why.
And he didn't have a voice. He didn't have a voice synthesizer, so he couldn't speak.
Yeah, he never said anything,
which was really cool. Because from the very beginning, the guy was just kind of looming behind people and not speaking. So it's like, oh, what's his deal? Obviously, they want
all the acting with his eyes.
Yep, everything with his eyes and eyebrows.
Now, didn't that feel like a unnecessary detail? Because they run with that with this voice synthesizer, because it's in the dialogue too when the other one gets it. He's like, because I've taken his voice synthesizer,
now I can talk to you.
He's like, did you need any of it? They could have just spoke English and no one would have batted an eye, because every other race sort of just does that.
Well, anyway, so these mostly speak in like clicks and whistles and whatever. Have we not established that the TARDIS does all this translation for us? Is that something that's only in New Who that we talk about this?
I feel like, again, we should know this at this point.
We should know this. We've done 33 episodes so far.
Hey, fact checker. If the fact checker can maybe write in, fact check alert. But I feel like that would have come from old Doc. Like they would have been dealing with that with William Hartnell. Would have come up like as a thing. I don't know. I
vaguely feel like that is a thing that happened previously, but I don't know. Yeah, fact check me. Anyway, so it was strange. Like they don't really need that to happen. Although the doctor didn't understand him either. I don't know. It's fine.
No.
So then you put in the voice synthesizer and everything's cool.
One thing too on that, when I had that list of things they wanted to change, was also not dumbing down the doctor, but making it so he didn't and same with Romana. So they're also trying to push down their intellect with them figuring things out right away.
Yeah,
including this whole thing. So what else we have? I have please tell me her name again. I'm so bad at this.
Mina?
The Queen, Mina.
She's the chairwoman.
Throughout the story, they keep saying how she's looking worse and worse and worse. I did not notice a difference from the first time I saw her to the end. Like they're like, oh, she looks terrible. I was like, well, she kind of looks the same. Like,
you are an ageist son of a gun.
No, not that she looked bad at the beginning. I'm saying I did not see any progression.
They did
between.
They made her eyes.
Was it just
like
eyes darker?
Dark hollows around her eyes, and she had a little more of the wrinkles. And if you counted her pearls on her horn, there were some missing.
Well, that's where I think I was missing the pearls on her thing.
Is.
But I just felt like they were walking up to this woman and were like, "You look terrible." I'm like, she doesn't look that bad. She looks fine. I mean, come on, it's just the lighting.
I mean, the actress did a great job. I mean, she was like,
she was
portraying that she was dying.
I thought the cast throughout was excellent. Like I thought the young kid, well, he's not young, but
kid,
whatever.
That young 30-something-year-old kid.
The horrible spoiled son, I thought was great, and I thought she was really strong.
Okay, so do we want to get up to the end of what's actually going on here?
That the old doctor got scared of the sound of a door closing. Did you notice that part? When he's old man doctor, there's one scene where there's like a door slams or something, and he does this whole like jump up, like, oh, it's like, oh man, he is old doctor. I just wrote in my notes, old doctor is exactly how I feel. Like in my whole, like that's, you covered how I feel walking around.
Aw.
Okay, so you want to jump ahead?
Well, I just wanted to jump to, so it's revealed that Pangol. So explain to me. He is the child of the recreation machine.
Yeah.
So it's a recreation machine, and the doctor figures out it's a recreation.
Like, wait a minute, they're hiding what it does in plain sight. But yeah, so I guess for 40 years, tachyonics. What's it called?
Tachyonics.
Tachyonics. Thank you. Is a science they developed, but I guess secretly in the back. They had been working on sort of cloning, and they've only got one to work, and that was this guy. And otherwise, it's been a failure.
Yeah.
Right? So he is the only one that is the child of the generator, the one that worked. And somehow he knows how to make it work now.
Right. He's figured out some way to actually take this forward.
So
and
he's been working on this thing in the background. While we know they're also working on a way of making people younger. He's working on a way of actually using it to reproduce.
Sort of.
But yeah, so
to reproduce and repopulate with just clones of himself. Yes. So he kind of goes mad with power.
Clones of himself marching in place when they're getting ready to leave.
Weird. Yeah, that video effect was not great.
Yeah, not the finest hour.
So there was like a row of them marching, and then the video effect was duplicating that row behind, but it would be slightly staggered and get choppy, and then they add the next one, it gets worse and worse.
way too many cutaways to that. The first 3 is I get it. You're making more of them. They just keep cutting back to them marching into place. Yeah. It seemed like this story felt short, even though it was tight in terms of you've got a lot of cutaways of the same thing, but also the previously on scenes. Some of them felt very long, where you were watching a
full
lot
half
more.
Hours of previously on.
Yeah, you're okay, we're finally back to where we left off. So it felt a little light on content, although it didn't feel like it dragged out or anything
at all. No, like there's some previous episodes or stories where it's they keep going back to the place again and back. There was none of that really, but no, I know what you mean. It was pretty.
So we get the this guy again cloning himself with everyone's got the Dr. Fate phallic helmet on.
Yeah,
and then I am so dumb because I have no idea how the whole end worked. Somehow it was the doctor. He was cloning the doctor.
The doctor was in the machine when he cloned it, or his thing was still in the... I don't know.
Get it.
I don't know.
He hooked the randomizer up to it. What did that do? And why was... They talk about... He says, first in, last out, or first in, first out. Because, when they... At the end...
First in, last out, right. So all the clones are on the outside.
They're just images. They're not real clones because they start disappearing.
They're the tachyon clones, and they had said from the beginning that maybe the randomizer was to keep it from being able to actually stabilize them, because that was whole... From the beginning, they said that you can't keep a tachyon clone alive or in existence for very long. That's a limitation of it. And then I guess Pangol had figured out a way to do this, so they were trying to disrupt that. The doctor was in there on the outside. They looked like Pangol. On the inside, it's the doctor, but younger. So he got regenerated.
Yeah, that's another thing. He got regenerated. It was very strange because
his clones disappear, and then he's the last one is actually him.
And the way he talks about it too, he's like, "Oh, I set the recreation machine on rejuvenator." So I forget what word he uses because that's how. Yeah, that's how it turns the child of the generator into a baby with an adorable wig. That was one of the finest hours of the show. That little poor baby with that dumb wig on.
Giant wig.
And the woman comes out, looks the same again to me.
No, she looks minutes younger.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so I was like, whatever. It's, I'll let it go. It's fine.
Yeah, it was. It was okay. So you get the crazy madman at the end. He gets regressed to a baby, and
and they talk about how they're going to leave the randomizer attached to the machine for some reason. I guess just to mess with them.
Well, yeah. So the doctor's like, we can't run away from the
Galactic Hobo. They refer to the Black Guardian as the Galactic Hobo, which I thought was a great line.
So they're like, bring it on. Let's just go do what we want to do. I guess behind the scenes they're just getting tired of that and want to be able to change. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
So I have some notes. Do you have anything else on that?
On the whole story itself? Nope. I think that's all the important things.
Yeah, I have just a couple of notes on the John Nathan Turner stuff. So one of the rules he wanted to do was he felt like it was too much people thinking, well, this will do because it's Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. So I guess he felt it was getting too sloppy and the sets were poor and the costumes were bad. So, or he just felt like it was lacking and people were sort of giving it an excuse because it's Doctor Who and they expected that. So that's what he wanted to change. I thought the costumes were great. As we mentioned, the makeup on the old Tom Baker was good.
Yep.
So in that regard, it looked cool. I like the external shots of the city were cool. Like
they were fine. The model shots, they were okay. I mean, they weren't any. I don't think they were any better or worse than most of them that we've seen. They were fine. I never had a problem with those.
I mean, the creature, the other creature was it's kind of
mostly they just looked like big furries. There wasn't
guys
much in plush animals.
Yeah. They were kind of ridiculous.
They were ridiculous. They didn't look very good at all.
So I don't know. Again, I have notes that there was a lot of tension, it seemed, between Christopher Bidmead, and I hope I'm getting your name right, who is the script editor, and John Nathan Turner. He pretty much said that he was like, John thought he knew how to put stories together, but he didn't. And he passed on stories that this guy thought would have been marvelous. So I guess there was a lot of pitching and things getting rejected, and there was a lot of tension. And we mentioned with Tom Baker, and people kept referring to him as a naughty schoolboy. It was like every time they were cutting to someone, that's sort of how he was. And even he himself said at that point he was kind of getting bored and his vanity was high. So he was butting heads a lot with pretty much, I guess, Graham previously, and then with the John Nathan Turner just over scripts and things like that.
Apparently, this is also, from what I was reading, the height of the tumultuous relationship between Tom Baker and Leela Ward. So I guess they kind of had we say that they do get together, but it wasn't a very smooth coupling that they have there. So on again, off again type of thing. So apparently the vibe on the set was pretty chilly because of that going on as well.
Okay, I didn't even realize that. So I didn't know they had problems.
This is what the internet's telling me.
And then they got married?
I don't know where this is in their relationship, actually. If only there was a way to figure something like that out, but I don't think it's possible.
Oh, that's cool. They seem to have pretty good chemistry. I mean,
I didn't see that being any better or worse than previously. It looked fine, but that's apparently what was going on the set. And also just production stuff. So this director, what do we got here? Lovett Bickford. This is the only Doctor Who show he ever does because it goes so severely over budget that the producer gets reamed out by the BBC, and this guy is never allowed to do another show again. So, I mean, that must be really hard for a new producer coming in. The first story out of the gate goes over budget. I mean, that's got to be rough.
Yeah, that is weird.
They spent all that money on the upside down squash. I mean, it looked real.
Yeah, that was just so stupid. I mean, that was the only leisure activity we saw in the whole thing, and it looked like
you could do that
the
or stare
last
out the window.
thing you would want to do. And again, I still don't even understand it, because when he's showing the demonstration of him taking his head off, he's outside of the thing. Like, he's manipulating his copy to do that. So when you play this dumb squash, your copy is playing the squash. It's not.
That's a great question. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, it's not like you're going into like a danger room type thing. You know.
No, that'd be much more straightforward. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like overly complicated in places where maybe it didn't.
It should have been very straightforward. Yep.
So what overall? Again, we'll draw this to a close because it's a new direction for the show. It's a new feel.
Yeah.
Are you into it, or is
sure. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has the kind of more serious vibe, but not without its humor. It's still funny in spots as it needs to be. I mean, the characters are great. I mean, I really like this Romana. I like where Tom Baker is in this. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Cool.
Yeah, overall, like you said, complicated in places where it didn't need to be. Some of the story was kind of silly, but overall it was a pretty straightforward, good solid story.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think there's hopefully we'll see as it goes on. I feel like it does need the silliness and stuff. Some of the stuff that they're pushing against, I feel is necessary. Like, it can't take itself too seriously, or then it goes off the rails too far in the other way. I think this is a good balance. Like, it wasn't completely void of comedy, but I watching that thing, it made me a little nervous about what is to come if it keeps going in that direction. But we'll see. Overall, I think this was good. Not my favorite episode, but
definitely
solid.
It was fun.
I would say watch it. You've obviously already watched it, so what do you care? So anything else?
No, I think that's it for the episode. I think there were some things we wanted to mention at the end of this. Again, if we got anything wrong here, I'm sure our friend Lance Hall will correct us in any of our misstatements there. So I'm sure it gave you a lot to think about there, Lance. You had something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, but before that, so the next story, this one will go up on October 19th. Our next one is Full Circle, which we will be doing in, what's our date on that? Well, I just clicked off the link as I'm about to say it. November 9th. which is exciting.
Yep.
But this one is going to go up October 19th, which is this Wednesday, at which time, and I'm going to plug something I've got going on, I'll have a Kickstarter live. As of tomorrow, it's for a comic / epic poem, so I've probably I probably cut the audience in half already.
That Venn diagram is
that Venn is a very small, but if you're in the middle of that, this is for you. It's a kind of a dark fairy tale storybook. It's with Claire Connolly. If you're familiar with my work, you probably are aware of Animals, which I do with Claire. She's a brilliant artist. If anything, just check it out. You can go to ericgrissom.com/mark, and it will redirect to the Kickstarter page. So check it out, and if it seems like something you want, I would love it if you purchased it. It's going to be nice. Again, it's a nice hardcover, landscape formatted storybook. It's appropriate for all ages. So if you have a middle school kid, or I think children will be fine with it too. It's a little dark, but it's nothing in it that's inappropriate. So check it out. If you're listening to this now and you think you want it and you want a copy of the PDF for whatever reason, I'll offer this to Old Doctor Who Show listeners. I'll send you a PDF. You can actually see what it's like before you purchase it before you back the Kickstarter. We do offer a digital tier where you can get the PDF, so it's not something I want to give out to everybody, obviously, because we want to earn money to print this thing. But if you're on the fence and you just want to see what it's like, and if you're thinking about getting it for your kids or for yourself or whatever, I will do that for you. Just contact me over email, and I will deny it in public. All right, go, Dan.
No, that's the thing I wanted to make sure we talk
hate
about.
doing the plugging.
I love it.
Makes me feel dirty.
Nope, I got nothing I got to plug, and I love that you're creating things. So everyone get out there and back that. All right.
Yeah, you got to do your patented. Please review us.
Please review us. If you want to keep us going, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to do this regardless if you listen or not. To get more people listening to the show, please drop us a review on the iTunes store. That helps us out. If you have any questions, you can always send us an email. The Old Doctor
the Old Doctor Shoe Show. That's a whole other. It's Old Doctor Shoes. I'll throw them up on power lines, tying it all back to earlier episodes.
Yep, that's a callback, folks. Okay.
The old Doctor Who
Show at gmail.com. You can also tweet at us. I'm at DanJNJ, and that guy over there is at eGrissom.
eGrissom. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TODWS. And
we will post notes there, letting you know when the show is going to be on the air. So probably you've already seen that before you're listening to this episode. But if you guys have any feedback or questions, please drop them.
And we absolutely welcome additions to our list of shows we're covering. So on the schedule page, we've done
patented news update about streaming rights.
Yes. This is exciting.
Ready?
Oh.
No news. There's no news. There's absolutely no news.
Actually, you legitimately got me excited for a second.
Classic Doctor Who. Who knows? It's not streaming anywhere, so we're stuck with the DVD rentals or iTunes.
Yeah, iTunes DVD rentals. I believe Amazon sells digital versions.
Yep.
You can go to eBay too. There are places to get.
Or as we were recommended before, check out your local lending library and see if they have them in stock. Support your libraries.
Excellent point. And in most libraries, you can go and you can ask them to get it from another branch if your branch does not have it.
And I think it's pronounced library.
Libs.
Libsies.
I call it libs. Libsies. First libsies. Anyway, let's please end this. Go to ericgrissom.com/mark and share it. Get that another plug-in as we go here. And anything else? Tell us what stories you want to do.
Check out our show page for any of the links about things we mentioned in this episode, and we will see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah, did you tell them that we only have 10 reviews on iTunes and we have way more than 10 subscribers? So somebody is not dropping stars.
Everybody, pull your weight. You can just hit the button and do the 5 stars, 4 stars. That's fine.
And one last thing.
That's cool too. But writing a review is even better.
If you want the free Clue DVD, at eGrissom, at DanJNJ, and just tell us why, and it's yours, and I'll
or
drop it
just
in
say the word clue.
or just say the word clue. No, they got to say something so that we could read it, and hopefully
saying maybe that it was, whatever. Tim Curry's best role. That's cool.
And again,
you can say that. Madeline Kahn was a...
the next time we record, if nobody's done it, which is a good chance no one will actually do it, I'm just going to give it to the library. I'm going to give it to the library.
I think
you can just give it to the library, and they can sell it at that thing for $1. So,
all right,
there you go.
Everybody, we got to leave now because this is too much.
It's late. This is one of we both talked at the beginning that this was going to be a short podcast.
One. We always say that, and then
it's one of our longest.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll cut this down to about 3 minutes.
Cut all of it out.
All right.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Where's my robot? You know?